The singularity, as I understand it, it's a point in time where the rate of advance of science and technology gets so fast, the human mind perceives it as infinite. Right now, already, we get new computers and new mobile phones faster than I can figure out how to use them. I don't know everything my phone can do now, and I'm not going to figure it out by the time I get the next one. But imagine if a new technology with amazing new implications came about every 5 seconds or so. That's a singularity. But the singularity is not just a matter of technology. It's better, perhaps, to think of the singularity in terms of human experience. Right now, due to the way our brains are built, we have a few states of consciousness that follow us around every day. There's the ordinary waking state of consciousness. There's various kinds of sleep. There's a flow state of consciousness that we get into when we're really into the work we're doing, or playing music and we're really into it. There's various enlightened states you can get into by meditating a really long time. The spectrum of states of consciousness that human beings can enter into, it's a tiny little fragment of all the possible ways of experience. When the singularity comes, it's going to bring us a wild variety of states of consciousness, a wild variety of ways of thinking and feeling and experiencing the world that we can't even imagine now. The singularity will be enabled by technology, but fundamentally, it's not just about technology. It's about how you feel in your own mind. It's about how you feel in your body. It's about how you relate to the world and to other people. It's going to be a radical change in what it feels like to be a person, to be a mind. Why do I believe a singularity is coming? The singularity has been coming for quite a long time. Not that long ago, our ancestors were running around in the African savannah, living not that differently from other animals. Then we developed language, we developed tools, we developed machinery, we developed mathematics, we developed science. This has been a very rapid rise for humanity, from our beginnings in the African savannah to where we are today. The singularity is just the next small step, adding on to all the amazing things humanity has already achieved. As Ray Kurzweil has pointed out, for the last few decades, we've been seeing exponential advancement in a number of technologies that are directly relevant to the singularity. The exponential advance of computer hardware is obvious to everyone. The supercomputers of decades ago are vastly less powerful than my cell phone, let alone the server farms I use for AI development. The exponential advance of brain scanning has been equally amazing. Now we can track which parts of the brain are active when we have a certain kind of thought. We can look at the activity in a human brain when a person looks at a picture, and we can reconstruct that picture from what's happening inside their brains. Nothing remotely like that was possible a few decades ago. We now have quantum computers, simple hardware devices that use the weird quantum uncertainty voodoo of the microworld to carry out computing fundamentally faster than regular computers could do. We now have humanoid robots like the Now and the Hanson Robo kind, little guys 3 feet tall you can buy for 15,000 US that walk around your lab and talk to you. This was unimaginable a decade ago, let alone 50 years ago. We're seeing exponentially fast advancement in a variety of different technologies. Genetics, all of a sudden, is an information science. When I studied biology in high school, it was pretty boring. Genetics has become an information science. In the last decade and a half, we've sequenced the human genome. We've sequenced the genomes of fruit flies, mice, and all manner of different organisms. We can apply AI technology to the genomes of all these animals. We can connect genomics with systems biology simulations, computer simulations of the complex systems inside a human's or an animal's body. Using the combination of advanced biotechnology with AI, we can begin to understand the complex mechanisms that make us live and breathe and that make us get old and die. So there's a host of intersecting technologies which are advancing exponentially for the last few decades, building on the much longer term exponential advance that brought us out of the African savanna to where we are today. Given all this, it's not hard to see why Ray Kurzweil projects a singularity sometime in the middle of this century, and I tend to agree. We don't need every technology to advance exponentially to have a singularity. This sweatshirt I'm wearing, it's not all that different from the sweater my grandfather wore. The chopsticks I'll eat dinner with tonight, they're pretty much the same as the chopsticks that were used in China 5,000 years ago. We don't need every technology to advance exponentially to get to a singularity. We need a few key technologies. Specifically, we need those technologies that form the underpinnings of artificial general intelligence, because that's really the crux of the singularity. Once you have a mind that's fundamentally smarter than the human mind, twice as smart as a human, 3 times, 5 times as smart as a human, at that point we're into a different domain of reality. We're into a different phase of history. These superhuman minds are going to go as far beyond human beings as human beings have gone beyond chimpanzees, lemurs, and our other precursors. AGI, artificial general intelligence, refers to an engineered system, a machine or a computer program, that can learn, reason, understand, generalize with the same breadth of scope as a human mind, and ultimately far beyond what the human mind can do. Most of the AI programs written so far are what we'd call narrow AI. They may be very, very smart, but they're smart in a very particular domain. You have a program like Deep Blue that plays chess better than any human being, but it only plays chess. It can't play checkers. It can't play Go. It can't even play Fisher random chess or any of the other variations of the standard chess rules. The US military has some fabulously complicated AI planning and scheduling systems that work out all the logistics of complex military operations. But if you take these planning and scheduling systems and try to get them to organize a conference or run a government, they can't do that. They're tuned specifically for military logistics. In my own bioinformatics company, BioMind, we've used narrow AI to analyze genomics data. And we've discovered some really important things about Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, and longevity. But these narrow AI bioinformatics systems require a human expert to operate them. And if you feed them a new kind of data they've never seen before, they require a human to pre-process the data, to put it in the right form they can understand. Narrow AI systems can be incredibly useful technology, but they're not autonomous systems. They're not autonomous, self-understanding agents that confront the world on their own terms, understand their own relation to the world, and figure out how to achieve their own goals in the context of an uncertain, ever-shifting, ever-evolving environment. People aren't that good at any one particular thing. What we are good at doing is figuring out what to do in uncertain situations. This is the crux of what makes AGI different than narrow AI. Humans aren't absolutely general intelligences. We are limited in some ways. Something like a third of the brain is devoted to vision processing. Obviously, we're not much good at doing mathematics. We struggle with algebraic calculations that a software program like Mathematica or MATLAB could do effortlessly and instantaneously. We're not equally good at everything, and there are some things that are just so complex, a human brain couldn't possibly grapple with them within a human lifetime. But even so, we do possess a capability to generalize, to transfer knowledge from one domain to another that current AI programs don't have. Some AI theorists, like Markus Hutter and Jürgen Schmidhuber, have theorized about infinitely general intelligence, an AI system that could solve any possible problem. This is really interesting mathematics. But when you come down to it, an infinitely general intelligence is only possible with infinitely much computer processing power, and that's not the situation we have in the real world. The human mind is an adaptation to the fixed computing resources of the human brain. Any AGI system we build is going to be an adaptation to the fixed amount of computing resources that it has. So we're not going to build a completely general AGI system that can solve all possible problems immediately. But we can build something with the same and ultimately greater generalization capability than the human mind. And once we have that, it's literally impossible for human beings to figure out what comes next. There's a certain fundamental, irreducible uncertainty to the singularity. Just as a cockroach or a dog can't predict what product Apple is going to release next year, or what molecular nanotechnology is going to enable, or even what's going to happen next in a soap opera. Similarly, the human mind is going to be fundamentally unable to predict what happens in a world dominated by superhuman general intelligences. This doesn't mean a Terminator scenario is inevitable. It does mean we're not going to have a predictable, cut and dried future where we can see what's coming every step of the way. Here in China, there's been a fairly stable situation for thousands of years. Emperors have come and gone, but the basic Chinese culture has remained the same. The library in Beijing contains records of the Chinese Empire going back 5,000 years or so. The future's not going to be like that. The records in Beijing are not going to be as relevant anymore once superhuman AIs are the dominant factor in the world. Some of my friends in the futurist community believe a negative outcome is likely. They think once we have superhuman AIs, these AIs are more than likely to wipe us all out, either out of malice or just out of indifference. After all, when we humans erect a new building, how much do we care if we wipe out some ants or some bacteria along the way? But I'm much more optimistic. Superhuman AIs are not going to be random minds pulled out of the nothing. And they're not going to be minds that evolve in a fierce need, and they're not going to be minds that evolve in the context of a fierce evolutionary battle for survival. We're engineering these minds. We're building the artificial minds that are going to supersede traditional human intelligence. We can architect these minds with rational goal structures. We can architect these minds with ethical goal structures. We can set these minds off on a positive course. That doesn't mean we know with any certainty where they're going to go, but it does mean we can have a rational expectation that something very positive might well happen. Look at the applications to medicine. Look at the applications to longevity. Right now we take for granted that all of us are going to get old and die. I turned 45 years old yesterday. If nothing radical happens, that's more than half my expected lifespan. I don't fear death tremendously. If it turns out that I die, that's okay. I've enjoyed my life. I've done a lot of what I wanted to. On the other hand, all in all, I would much rather not die today, for example. And I would much rather not die 45 years from now or 10,000 years from now. Life is good. I'd rather life keeps on going. And death is not inevitable. We're raised to believe that once you're born, you're going to live a while and then you're going to die, because that's the way evolution has worked it out for us. But that's not the way it has to be. The body can be thought of as a complex molecular machine. A sufficiently intelligent AI could figure out how to repair this machine to avoid the problem of involuntary death via aging or disease. The mind, the conscious experience that we have, ultimately, it comes out of a certain organization of activity in our brain. It's a pattern of activity. This pattern of activity that makes up the human mind could be ported to a different substrate. A sufficiently intelligent AI could copy the mind out of a human brain into a different sort of physical system, which is much more robust. One day we're going to look back on this era when we could not even make a backup copy of ourselves. If lightning were to strike me in the head, I'd probably be gone. After the Singularity, all you'd have to do is reboot me from my most recent backup copy, and I keep on going. Imagine the ramifications this will have for the way we think about ourselves, for the way we think about our lives. One of the problems we've seen as technology has advanced is that we human beings have caused more and more damage to our natural environment. Ironically enough, I think really advanced technology like AGI and molecular nanotech can reverse this trend, can actually make it easier for people to coexist with their environments and help us create new natural environments flourishing in amazing ways that nature never knew before. Here in Hong Kong, it's a little known fact, but 80% of Hong Kong is undeveloped wild natural areas, just tree-covered mountains. The populated areas of Hong Kong are quite compressed and crowded, and part of the reason for that is that 80% of Hong Kong is not zoned for development. It's just left wild for the animals and plants. I see no reason why we can't keep it that way. The primitive technologies we have now that are causing so much damage to the surface of the earth will be obsoleted come the Singularity. Digging up fossil fuels from under the ground is going to be unnecessary once we can do nuclear fusion, femtotechnology, harvesting energy from the center of the sun. The phase of development where technology harms the earth, it's probably quite temporary. We're going to see a reversal of that trend where technology actually helps both humans and nature to flourish, live together in harmony. There's a lot of cool things that could happen, actually. I mean, you could bring back the Neanderthals, too, right? Advanced technology will let us preserve the beauty of nature much better than we can do now. And it can also enable some more interesting things. We could bring back extinct animals from their DNA. we could allow the flourishing of new ecosystems, new kinds of plants and animals that nature didn't happen to come up with. We don't have to think of the future as a kind of sterile environment like a computer lab where there's just a bunch of big metal machines sitting around whirring and humming. I mean, the post-singularity future could be way more natural, way more wild and alive than the world we're living in today.